guys, it's Karina here with another video. So today I'm going to be talking about The Universal Christ. This is an amazing book that I got for Christmas, and it is by Richard Rohr, a progressive Christian, and the book is just so beautifully written. It is very rich and it has a lot of information, so you definitely need to read it slowly and try to digest it. So I think I'm going to read it a second time just because it's so rich. But it's a really great book, and there is also a podcast called Another Name for Everything, and in this podcast they have a podcast to go along with each chapter of the book, so it's really helpful and a great way to digest each chapter. So it's super cool. And also, fun fact, Richard Rohr has daily meditations that you can sign up for and get in your email. And I have signed up for the subscription and have been loving them so far. They are just so good, and they've just been so on spot on like what I need to hear right now and where I'm at with my life. So yeah, I'm just gonna like explain some of the concepts he talks about in his book, and then I'm gonna quote some things that I found really insightful. And I wrote down like a lot of the quotes that I really appreciated from his book, so I will link all of them in the description box below, the long list of quotes. I'm not going to read them all to you because I'm bad at reading out loud, fun fact. So yeah, so I want to talk about some of the concepts. So Richard Rohr talks about the idea that Christ is in everything. So he talks about how all of creation and all of people have Christ within him, like within these things. So Christ is within me, it's in creation, it's in everything. His essence and spirit and energy is in all the things of the world. We live in a Christ-soaked world is the concept that he really tries to communicate, which is a really interesting way to look at things. And I kind of talked about this in one of my other videos, but it's just the idea that like Christ is all around you. And that Christ is in everything you do. And it's a beautiful way to look at it, because then Christ is indirectly working through us and working in our lives, opposed to directly. Because when we think about it like, oh, I need to pray right now so this person gets healed, like, you know, boom, God does it, miracle, like, that's not really how it works. It's the things around us that create things to happen, and the Christ in everything that creates things to happen is the way he suggests it potentially works. And for me that makes a lot more sense, because it's like, well then no wonder, like, you know, God doesn't directly answer my prayer. It makes sense that he answers my prayers in the things around me and the ways I live my life. So I hope that explanation made sense. I tried to communicate it well. So yeah, that's one of his biggest concepts that he explains in his book. And then he also suggests and hints to the fact that potentially we are all saved and potentially we all go to heaven in the end. And he explains how scripture potentially points to that and how it could potentially be a possibility. And it's really opened my mind to the fact that potentially we are all saved. So I think I'm at a point now where I'm like not really sure what the afterlife is or what it's going to look like, but I'm at a place where it's like I'm open to whatever it might be. And I think, for me at least, I think that God is a just God and there's consequences that are short term for sin, but I don't think God would create an eternal consequence for me. That is the main thing that kind of like makes me lean on the other side of that. So that's kind of like where I lie right now. And then it might ask you the question, so then why do I share at all? Well, my way of seeing it is I'm not sharing my faith to get people saved. I'm sharing my faith to give people hope. And that is the way I see it. So the book has really reshaped my way of thinking and the way I see Christianity. So yeah, I'm going to go into a couple of my favorite quotes in the book, so let's get at it. So the first one is, God joined in unity with the physical universe and became light inside of everything. Scientists have discovered that what looks like darkness to the human eye is actually filled with tiny particles called neutrons, slivers of light that pass through the entire universe. Apparently, there's no such thing as total darkness. even though humans think there is. Christ is literally the light that the darkness cannot overcome. So I think that's just so beautiful. Like, that is so impactful. Like, wow, like God is literally the light in all things, and there is no darkness because there's light in everything. So I think that's just like, yes. The divine has never seemed very worried about getting his exact name right. As Jesus himself said, do not believe those who say, Lord, Lord. He says it to those who do it right that matter, not to those who say it right. I think this is so beautiful because I just think it's so important that we be Jesus and not just, share the gospel or not just, speak it. I think it's really important that we be it. And I think that is really cool. And I think it's, also just a testament to, like, the world around us. Like, even though people aren't necessarily claiming to believe Jesus, maybe they're showing Jesus in their life, though, and showing love and being Jesus without necessarily claiming that they're a believer. So I think that's a really neat way to look at things, too. So now I'm going to talk a bit about salvation and some of the quotes from his book. So salvation became a one-time transactional affair between Jesus and his Father, instead of an ongoing transformational lesson for the human soul and for all of history. Love cannot be bought by some necessary sacrifice if it could not be transformative love. If forgiveness needs to be bought or paid for, then it is not authentic forgiveness at all, which must be free of letting go. So I think that Jesus died on the cross because it was necessary. So I think Jesus died on the cross not because it was necessary, but to show us true love. Jesus came to change our minds about God and about ourselves and about where goodness and evil really lie. So that is the last thing I'll leave you guys off with, but I really recommend you read this book and check out Richard Rohr and the work that he does in his podcast, as it will really challenge the things that you believe and help you see God in a more easier light and like easier, how do you say it, like he will explain it in a way that you can easily understand it. Words. He will explain it in a way that you can easily understand it and understand how God works and how he functions in this world and a bit more about his mystery. And he just really encourages the idea of contemplative thinking and how we're never going to know all the answers, and that sometimes you just got to sit in the comfortableness of not knowing things, which is so beautiful. So yeah, I highly recommend you check out this book, and I will link all the quotes and resources and everything in the description box below. Please subscribe and have a great week, and know that if God puts you to it, he will put you through it. Alright, bye guys.